especially about Hellmod these days because of the new update. That's been pissing me off.
Nice.
All right. Pull that up. Have you read the Friday Facts?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I remember the gist of it, but like, couldn't tell you the super details. But I know that they added the ability to drive, and that's insane. Like, you can actually drive in multiplayer. It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of experience with multiplayer myself, but I'm just watching the
Well,
videos. I can imagine how
I can
annoying it
tell
was.
you, it wasn't possible to drive in multiplayer if you were, like, playing with anyone who wasn't, like, right next door. It was impossible. You could kinda do it with a tank because it, like, turns side to side, but because the car is in such a way that the way that it turns was it needs to be up to speed to actually turn, so you couldn't make micro adjustments, and how much it turns is based on its speed, so
Right.
it was just impossible to steer in
That's
a
funny.
with any latency.
That does make sense. Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, watching the video, it was funny on the Friday Facts.
Yeah. So, that's a big change.
Yeah, and I mean the undo stuff is just awesome.
Yeah,
All the
the
bonuses.
redo, undo, that shows you what you
Exactly.
actually did. Oh, yeah, and it also undo does, I don't know, I guess I'll keep this for when we actually discuss it for real.
Yeah, we're talking about the podcast already. Okay. Let's see. I'll give it another 3 or 4 minutes for people to get here, and then we will get started. And I'm gonna post on the Factorio video stream plug area as well.
I'm gonna go get another drink real fast.
Yes, you need to stay hydrated. Very important.
Ah.
So what time zone are you? Where are you at?
I am an hour behind you, so,
Okay.
I forget what
Central.
that's called.
I think that's central.
Something like that. I don't pay attention to this stuff.
You just
I know
exist.
that yes, I know that it's 10 AM right now, that's enough for me.
All right, that's the important part.
Wow, 3 people.
I know, right? Yeah, the ping just went out on the Discord, so we'll see a few more probably roll in. But
I'll, I'll post something in my super secret channel,
yeah, please
once it's
do.
live. Yeah, people ask me to make a Discord, and I did, but it's only for people who pay me.
Oh, there you go. That's a good idea. I have a special channel on my Discord for that.
Yeah. I mean,
But
I just can't be bothered to moderate a public thing.
Yeah, especially with how, like, if I had as many viewers as you do, I think I would have the same problem. I have
Yeah.
a smaller community, which is a little bit easier to handle, thankfully.
Hmm. Yeah, I
What's
mean,
up,
even of the
Teus?
people. Mhm.
What were you saying?
I was saying that even of the people who pay me, there's like 500 in here, so I've got a decent,
Yeah.
group groupage. Yeah, so you see the chat. Ooh, the Dosh episode.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be a popular one. You're a hot
Yeah,
commodity.
perhaps. I am apparently, even though I never talk to anyone. It's I guess once again I'll save this for the actual on the record stuff. But yeah, despite being a pillar of the community, I don't really hang out with the community. I just kind of exist. I'm a ghost.
You're a great ghost though, and I appreciate you
Mhm.
taking the time for this because now people will get a look under the hood of what
They'll see the real
the real
life.
Dosh.
Well, they'll also hear what I sound like when I'm talking normally, so that'll
It's
be weird.
pretty much the same as your videos though.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit more super cash.
Exactly.
Also, I have a tendency to fiddle with things with my fingers, so if anything I'm messing with starts making noise, give me a heads up.
Okay, I'll just yell at you loudly.
Yeah, that works.
All right, are you all good to go?
Yeah, I suppose. Ready as I'll ever be.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I'm not the most experienced at this whole talking to people thing, but I'll do my best.
I'm sure you'll do great. I have faith,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be right here with you.
Yeah.
So we'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Factory Must Grow, episode 10. Today we are joined by none other than DoshDoshington, the infamous Factorio YouTuber. Dosh, how you doing today?
All right.
Perfect. For those who don't know, Dosh is a quite popular Factorio content creator who takes on pretty insane challenges a lot of the time, documenting a lot of hours of work, usually in a fairly short edited video overlaid with his voice and a beautifully dry sense of humor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you should go check that out. Today on the
Mm-hmm.
cast, we'll start with another mod spotlight. We'll discuss the Factorio Friday facts, and then we'll hear from Dosh about his Factorio gameplay and content creation. So the mod spotlight today is going to be Ultra Cube, which was a mod made recently by Grand Syken just about 5 months ago. It only has 12,000 downloads at the moment. But Dosh, you have some experience with Ultra Cube. Tell us, what is Ultra Cube all about?
Well, it's about a cube, and it's pretty ultra. That's the gist of it. But basically, it's an interesting mod that I had a lot of fun with. It was very difficult to push yourself forwards going into it because you kind of had to restructure your normal Factorio brain. But the main gimmick of it is that you have one cube, and that is necessary to make like all of the base products. And so to go forwards, you need to think very clearly about how you are utilizing the cube and how it goes around the factory. So unlike any other game where you're just like, "Oh, I need more iron, I'll just add another furnace stack, I'll just add another mine." You need to physically think very carefully about how you're setting up your builds so that it maximizes the cube time. So it was a very interesting experience, and it has a lot of unique challenges as well. If you want to say anything,
Yeah, for sure. I started my own Ultra Cube series. I didn't get very far because, well, I didn't have the time for all the editing that I wanted to do with it. But I'll pick it up some other time. But yeah, it's super interesting because you can only produce, at least at the beginning, it's like if you wanted to make something, the cube has to be present. So if you want to make steam, you have to send the cube over to your boilers. And if you want to make, these matter units, you have to send the cube over to, these factories that make matter. And so it's like you're having to optimize cube uptime, which was
Mhm.
really interesting.
Yeah, and I'd say that my favorite thing about it is that it forced you to consider things that you would have no reason to consider otherwise. Because in normal Factorio runs, power is just not a concern. Like, you get nuclear power, and it's like, oh, I'm running low on power. Now I just paste down another tile of my tileable reactor blueprint, and I've got another, like, 1 gigawatt. Who cares? But with the Ultra Cube, because it's all based on the cube, suddenly you have a very real reason to care because the more power you're wasting, the less time the cube has to do other things. And it also I really like is because if anyone has watched my video, there was the process where you split it into 64 phantom cubes and you can multi-thread it, but the machines take so much power that it just kills any grid immediately. And so what I found really interesting is that I think this is something that they might have in the Fulgora planet on the upcoming expansion, but the idea of having this massive battery bank that even though the rest of the factory only runs at like 200 megawatts or something, like for 5 minutes it's running at like 2 gigawatts. And so you just need a massive bank of batteries to store that so you can eat that entire cost. And I think that was really interesting. And same thing with, giving an excuse to use power switches because there's no reason to use those anywhere else.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I found Nullius to have some really cool power mechanics
Mhm.
too that were kind of similar, where it's like you
Yeah,
you actually need
solar
to
collectors and
consider,
stuff, yeah.
yeah, you need to consider the amount of power that your
Mhm.
base uses in smaller bursts rather than just like average over time.
Yeah, so I like that stuff.
Yeah, sweet. So you guys should definitely go check out Ultra Cube. It's a really cool mod, and like Dosh was saying, it forces you to think differently than any other Factorio mod, which is really neat. And yeah, it needs some more downloads. And if you want to see Dosh play Ultra Cube, well, he's got a video on it, so go check that out.
Mhm.
Next, we're going to talk about the Factorio Friday Facts a little bit, which this week was titled "Undo/Redo Improvements in Car Latency Driving." So the short of it is that the redo function has finally been added. So before we only had undo, and now we have redo. And they also added some really nifty features to it. Undo now tells you what it undoes. So when you randomly hit the undo button on accident, you're not wondering what just happened. It'll
Yeah,
tell you like
I think
undid
everyone has
five.
done that. Everyone's done that before.
Clearly, the Factorio devs did as well because they even mentioned
Mhm.
it.
That's
But
what I
yeah,
like,
it'll.
I was gonna say a lot of the stuff they add is because they play the game themselves and they know exactly what happens.
Yep, they know the pain. And now it'll tell you like, oh, okay, it now undid five big power pole constructions on another planet, especially now that there are other planets involved. Undoing something on another planet is going to be really obnoxious.
Yep.
So they also added a little feature where if it was more than, I think they didn't give an exact time, but if it was more than a few minutes ago, it will actually bring up a confirmation dialog, and it will even show you the list of things that it would undo and what surface they're on, and even a preview of the location that
Mhm.
those blueprints were either removed or added or whatever. So it's really like a complete overhaul of the undo function. And
Yeah.
then the redo function obviously does exactly the opposite. So now you won't have to worry about not being able to undo certain things, because apparently before there was a
Yeah.
few things undo couldn't undo.
Yeah, I can say, if you've played around with like really complex combinator designs, you will run into this a lot, and it's the fact that when you paste certain things or undo certain things, the wires aren't inherited. So if you like copy a design and then like delete one thing, if you had like the power pole set up in a very specific way, they'll just like reconnect all over the place. It'll be a nightmare. And this is now perfectly held over. So all the super specific wire connections can now be undone. Because if you accidentally like take one combinator blueprint and like paste it on top of another one, it will inherit all of those wire connections. And if you hit undo, it'll just they'll stay there. So
Yep.
this is a very welcome change for anyone who does weird stuff like that.
Yeah, it mentioned the wire connections. It mentioned undoing recipes. Like
Mhm,
before, if it changed the recipe of an assembler, it wouldn't undo that. Now it will undo that.
mhm,
So
mhm.
it undoes literally everything, and redo will redo those same things. And there's even an undo stack. And when you hover your mouse over the undo button, it'll even show you a preview of what it'll do. So super nice feature, especially as I mentioned, now that we're going to be on multiple planets in space age,
Mhm, mhm.
and you might be undoing something on another planet, or if you're using the remote view, you might be on Nauvis, you're trying to undo something, and it's like, wait, do you really want to undo that thing you did on Fulgora like 7 minutes ago?
Yeah, well,
So that'll be
the
nice.
solution is to constantly be working so you always know what you did. If you
Exactly,
stop
yeah.
in, like, 7 minutes, then you haven't been working hard enough. Get back to
Yeah.
work.
Well, in my case, it usually means I've been staring at Helmod for 7 minutes, but
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so then the other
You're
bit of the Friday Facts was talking about the multiplayer latency with driving in
to
particular.
drive in multiplayer, it's amazing. I don't know if anyone has tried to drive in multiplayer, but it's impossible. You can't do it. If you don't live next door to, like, your neighbor who's playing Factorio, you're just gonna go out of control and smash into everything. You just give up. And so the only thing that you can do in multiplayer is just stack a million exoskeletons. But now it'll be insane. You can actually drive.
Yeah, they used some magic prediction code so that now you can drive with zero to little latency, and you won't run into all the electric poles and take down your entire base's power network. So that
Mhm.
sounds nice, rather than playing Drunk Driving Simulator
Yeah.
2024.
Yeah, it's realistically, it's the exact same way they handle, like, walking. Well, I won't say exact same way, but it's similar because, like, when you're walking around in multiplayer, you don't notice latency, but it's there. And so, when you walk into an assembler, like, as far as the server is concerned, you're not there yet, but your game stops you and looks fine. But all that went out the window the moment you get in a car, and suddenly you're like, "Oh my god, latency." So, that's a very welcome addition.
Yeah, I think they just used the same predictive algorithms, but there were more troubles with it with driving because you've got the turning and you've got what happens when you run into
Mhm,
stuff. And yeah,
mhm,
I
yeah,
can't imagine what a nightmare it is on the back end to fix that stuff. But they did a good job, it looks like.
yep, mhm, mhm.
All right, so moving on. Dosh, who are you? What do you do?
Uh, I play Factorio and other games, then make videos about it. That's, uh, that's the gist of it.
Awesome. How did you get into gaming?
Gaming all the way back, God, I mean, I've been playing since I could, like, use computers. I started out, like, all the way back on, like, DOS, so, like, 90s stuff, DOS machines, and, playing, like, stuff like Lemmings. I mean, there's, like, a million DOS games that I can't remember the titles of because I was so young when I played them, and, like, one I can remember was, like, Clyde's Adventure, and, like, the sound it makes when you pick up everything and, like, open a secret, it's like, "Boing." It's like, that stuff's ingrained in my psyche, but, yeah, so, just playing, like, DOS computer games. I've been basically a PC gamer all my life, but I have played some stuff on the GameCube and the Wii just because everyone had a freaking Wii back then, but, that's just how I got into gaming. You have a PC right there, and there's games on it. I guess I could also say that, shout out to my older brother for, just downloading things, and he'd just leave them there, like, not even play them, then I'd get on and be like, "Hey, what's this?" Then magic happened. That's how I got into Atom, and that formed my entire life.
Yeah, so yeah, with DOS, I remember the Lemmings game first of all, and I remember these shareware like floppy
Mhm.
disks and stuff, and
Yeah.
I had this CD. CDs were a little newer at that point, but
Yep.
I had a CD that had like 150 shareware games on it. It was like a
Dang,
throwback
really.
to the DOS days. But yeah, it's
Mhm.
crazy how far things have come.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I mean, remember when you used to get, like, you'd buy some cereal and you get, like, this weird demo disc in it? Or, like, AOL? They
Chex
gave you
Quest,
AOL.
the classic Chex
Yeah.
Quest. I was a little too young for that, so I kind of came into the PC gaming world more in the late 90s, but
Yeah.
I was able to catch up with some of that, so I did get to
Mhm.
experience the wonderful world of DOS. But Windows 98 was kind of the main operating system I grew up with. But
Windows 95 is so much better.
oh yeah, that's the true king.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Lemmings is a good game, everyone should play it.
There's a new game. Oh shoot. Let's see if I can remember what it's called. Let me pull up my Steam. There's a new game that's kind of Lemmings-esque that people who are fans of
Mhm.
Lemmings might want to check out. What was it called? Shoot. I got the demo of it, and I think I removed it from my Steam library, so I can't get the name now. But
Yeah,
there is a
I've
newer
heard of
game.
that. It exists.
It
I'm sure if
exists.
you look like new Lemmings like a game in Google, you'll get it. Good
Yeah,
luck.
exactly. So how'd you get into Factorio more specifically?
Factorio? Okay, so, it's a really interesting tale how I got into Factorio. So what I was doing was I was browsing the Steam store, and I saw this game called Factorio, and then I bought it. And,
Mm-hmm.
that's history was made. Unfortunately, I'm not an OG that, I can't be like, "Oh, I played it, like, when it was 2017 when, like, the car model was a Corvette," I wasn't that old. I got it, like, around right when it went on Steam. So, that was like, when it was, like I think it was $20 then, but yeah, so I'm not, like, super, super old school, but I'm definitely, like, pretty old as far as things
Old
go.
school enough.
Yeah.
So obviously, you got Factorio, you played it. Was it like love at first play? Did it hook you immediately, or
I
what
mean,
happened with
yeah,
that?
honestly, so it's an interesting thing that I played it off and on, and I wouldn't say that I was like super into it. It's something I'd kind of occasionally do, but I guess you'd see that like the curve of how much I played the game just steadily increasing. So it wasn't much at first, and I just play like a little bit, and wasn't super into it. But as the years go by, you just slowly get more into it, and you kind of learn what's going on, you figure out the tools. And then suddenly here we are. So I
Yeah,
have like 4,000 hours now.
there you go. So you really came out of nowhere in terms of being a content creator with your first Factorio video, which was the burner everything video. What
Mhm.
inspired that and started it? What inspired you to kind of do that as a project?
Yeah, so what inspired me basically was just looking at how much I liked Factorio, how much other people played Factorio, but there just wasn't really anything digestible on YouTube. So when you looked at Factorio videos, there was tutorials, there was like 100-hour long Let's Plays, and then there were like base tours, and that was like your lot. And there was like one person who kind of did the stuff that I was interested in. If you know Michael Hendricks, he
Mm-hmm.
was one of the people who was like doing this sort of thing before me. Not exactly in my format, but he was kind of the only person doing that sort of stuff. And so I watched some of this stuff and it's like, man, I wish someone did more of this stuff, but like little different here, little different here, make it more digestible, stuff like that. And it was also like, I just kind of saw around that a lot of people in certain places were like, I really wish there were more videos like this, or like, I wish there were, actually good Factorio videos that really condense a run. And so I was like, hey, I could do that. And, so I did, and my first video is, like, compared to what I do now, it's definitely a little rough around the edges. It's kind of shocking to me that it has so many views. Like, when I made it, a lot of people don't know this, but I actually had, like, corona when I was doing the voiceovers, and, like, when I was done with it, like, I didn't have my format, I showed way too much, and, so it's, like, way longer than it should be, and then when I was finished, I was like, "What am I gonna do for music?" And I was like, "Screw," and I just slapped on some, like, weird Amiga trance mix I had, and so, yeah, so it's interesting, but yeah,
But
so that's the main thing. It was just seeing that I thought that people would wanna watch this, and so I made something that they wanted to watch.
yeah, and I mean, obviously, you did a great job with that, and like you said, the first video is always a little rougher on the edges, and I think that's true of any content creator. But it was still really good, and I think it fit a niche that, like you said, wasn't really being filled by many people at all, and people lapped it up because I think one of the things that you've done that, as you said, very few others have done is make Factorio content that's digestible for non-Factorio
Mhm.
players,
Yeah.
right? And I think most of us Factorio players tend to make content that mostly just other people who play Factorio are going to want to watch. But you made
Yeah.
something that anybody could watch, any gamer
Yeah.
could watch and really enjoy
Mhm.
kind of the craziness that you got yourself into.
Yeah, so there are, videos from what's his name? Amphibious
Amph-
Amphibian
ambiguous amphibian.
Thank you. Okay, that guy and, I can't remember the other one, the frog guy, those people. They
Isn't that
have,
the
like,
frog
their
guy?
yeah, no, actually, they're both the frog guy, you're right.
Are you
I
thinking of
can't
Troopin?
No, not Troopin, Martin Cedo Pants, thank you,
Oh,
okay,
yeah, 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 the
that guy.
pants guy.
Yeah, those people, they had some Factorio videos, but, they're coming at it from a different angle, and so I kind of fit the niche that's, like, between entertaining, but also informational. It's something that's, like, it's made by a Factorio expert, but it's also, like, accessible. So, it's showing something who is good at the game and building something, but also is kind of entertaining. So that's
Right.
my niche.
Yeah, yeah. How did you feel about the reception when the video came out? Like, did you? Yeah.
So when the video came out, how did I feel about the reception? I can say that there was no reception because no one watched it. But I made the second video anyway, and then like maybe a few people watched that. I remember there were a few like super obscure comments like hey, I found an underrated Factorio YouTuber. This was back when I had under 100 subscribers, and like the whole month after I made the burner video, I still only had like 50. And I my second video was the first rampant video, and I'd like to say that I improved a lot between my first one and my second one. I think anyone could agree. But that one, I actually posted it on Reddit, and then it got downvoted into oblivion, and no one cared. So I initially posted that on Reddit. I was like, "Screw you, Reddit." Yeah. So hey, there were some people that watched and said it was good, but still the point is that it's kind of a thing that the rich get richer, and once you're, like, established, like, you can do no wrong, because now, like, people post my videos on Reddit, and, like, I don't need to do anything. They get, like, like, 1,000 upvotes,
Mm-hmm.
and, so I guess the point I'm making is that, as you grow, the third video finally started getting, like, some views, and it kinda came out of nowhere and it was a shock, but I guess, stick to it, man. I spent, like, 3 months getting, like, no views, then out of nowhere, algorithm picked me up, and then I had 5,000 going into Crastorio, and then once after Crastorio dropped, I was up to, like, 50K in, like, a week. So, yeah, follow your dreams.
Yeah, I mean the first one I saw was the Dangerous run,
Mhm.
and that
Yep.
one really I thought was so cool. And it actually, I
Mhm.
mean, it wasn't that long ago. I think it was 6 months ago or
2
so.
2.
I did my own Dangerous run, though it
Mhm.
was class door phobic because now Dangerous is bugged and creates lag. But
Yeah.
that's besides the point. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting. So you're saying that the first video wasn't that popular. Now it has a ton of
Mhm.
views, but I'm guessing that's people that just went back and watched your original
Well, yeah,
after.
and so, to me, some people have asked me for, like, YouTube and advice, and I'm like, "I'm not the best person to ask, I just found a niche that was underutilized and, like, nestled my way into it." But I guess it's to say that if your videos aren't getting views, that's not to say that they won't have views, because, again, like, that one had 100 views for, like, weeks, and then now it's up to, like, 1,000,000, just in retrospect. So,
Yeah,
uh
yeah, and before I go much further, I just want to list out some of the challenges that Dosh has done because some of the listeners might not know. And this is not a complete list of every video, but this is mostly the Factorio challenges, and I'm going to speed read this. So the first one was, how hard is it to beat Factorio when everything's a burner? How hard to beat Factorio Death World with Rampant mod? How hard to beat Factorio when ore is everywhere, random, and explosive? How hard to beat Crastorio 2? How hard to beat with no belts and no bots? The Factorio City video, how hard to beat space exploration, which got 4 videos. How hard to beat when everything's on the same belt. Factorio base powered by train collisions. How hard to beat C block. How hard to beat in Hell, which is max rampant death world with no light, no trees, no lakes. Can you get to the end of the world in Factorio? Factorio, but everything is randomized. How hard to beat Factorio without doing anything, which was a meme video. And how hard to beat Ultra Cube.
Mhm.
And that is a big list of craziness. Particularly, what is Factorio City? That was the one I haven't actually watched that one.
I haven't watched the one. That was, so are you familiar with the AAI vehicles mod?
Yes.
It gives you programmable vehicles. So I was wondering, like, everyone calls this base structure city block, but they're not really cities, are they? And so I was like, I'm gonna make a city block, but make it actual, like, roads and trucks. And AAI vehicles are very complicated and notoriously difficult to get to do what you want. And so I had to spend, like, I spent literally like a week pacing around outside thinking and designing this thing I ended up calling the Logi Brain. And it, like, on the surface, it's not that complicated. It's just a bunch of, like, I can't remember, the name escapes me at this moment. But state machines. Thank you, brain. Anyway, it's a bunch of state machines. It's not that complicated, but getting it all to work without exploding is so difficult, and in Factorio. And so I just had this thing that moves trucks all around. And the problem is that the unfortunately the mod is very laggy, so I couldn't get it as well as I wanted to. But I was reasonably pleased with how it came out. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's so fun. I really need to watch that one. That sounds great. I remember watching your design for the automated like miner moving
Oh yeah,
in
that one.
Dangerous.
I could do it way
And
better now.
yeah, it was such a complex and elegant solution. Or sorry, elegant's the wrong word. It was complex and like expandable. It was really deep, and you could do a lot of things with it. And then I remember when I was designing mine, I ended up using like 5 combinators or something. And I was
Yeah.
like, wait, why did Dosh need like 70 combinators?
Yeah, I could do it way better now. I was stuck in some weird thought holes when I was doing that, but
Yeah, it was over engineered, but it was beautiful because
yeah.
like it could do so much more. And so much of what you did was like stuff that
Mhm.
technically didn't need to be done, but could work for something much more
Also,
advanced.
I actually didn't know that you could just read the mining drill at the time to see if there was any ore underneath it. So I didn't know that I had devised a way to figure out if it was done by adding a timer to see if no ores came on the belt. And
Yeah,
then if
that's
no ores,
smart.
deconstruct, but yeah, you know.
I'm curious though. I wonder if that was long enough ago. They did add that at some point. I wonder if you did the video before they added it.
No,
I
it was
don't.
definitely there when I did it because I
Okay,
figured
okay.
out, like, when I already finished the design.
Oh, nice, nice. That's
Mhm,
funny. So, okay, so you had, a first video. The reception wasn't that huge, but you decided to keep going. How
mhm.
did you get the ideas for the following videos? When you finish one video, like when you finish the Death World with Rampant mod, what did you decide, or how did you decide what's the next challenge that you're going to make a video about?
Well, usually I'll just hover around where people are talking about Factorio and see what random mods they bring up, and then my brain will be like, "Hey, I could talk about that," and the rest is history. So,
And
just seeing what mods people are playing.
are you particularly looking for something that seems hard or something that seems fun to you?
To me, it's not so much a matter of fun or hard, it's a matter of interesting. If I can make it interesting, and if it interests me, then I want to do it. So there's plenty of challenges I've thought of and thrown away, and I can't even name them right now because I've thrown them away so hard they're outside of my brain. But there's some that I've thought up and I'm just like, that's not really interesting. It's just like doing the same thing over and over again, you know? That's like, I could imagine something like, it's something like Michael Hendricks. I think he had a series that was like indestructible nests, and I'm like, that's interesting, but you can just surround them with walls, and the biters can't spawn anymore. So to me, that's not exactly an interesting challenge. But to me, something that's more interesting is like the freaking stupid sushi belt, where it's like it's not technically difficult, but it's funny. That's number one. It's funny, and number two, it's like I have actually gotten some flack for like not using a more sophisticated sushi design, and it's like this is kind of where I clash with some of the I guess Factorio veterans. Is that like first and foremost to me, it needs to be fun. I need to enjoy it, and to me, having 30 lanes of trash is fun. And so anything that detracted from that vision, it's like it's complicated. I don't want to do it. I want to see trash. That's my goal. So that's how it goes. uh, I can't hear you anymore.
Oops, I hit my mute button. Do it for the memes, is what I said.
Yes, yes.
So the people want to see the funny stuff, and
Yes.
truly, it's like content creation is about enjoyability, and even if
Yeah.
it's informational, it's
Mhm,
still if it's fun, more people are going to want to watch it, and obviously, like your
mhm.
view counts support that concept.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not sure if people like really pick it up in my videos, but I'm always a proponent of do whatever you want. Don't feel like you need to follow these like blueprints you downloaded online. Just like build something new every time and just have fun with it. It's like if you've watched my entire C Block series, it's freaking long. I don't forget. I forgive you if you haven't watched it, but you see like the design I ended up with the end is just this beautiful ballet of trains and trash. It's just stuff packed everywhere. And that kind of design can only come from starting somewhere and just building around it naturally. And it definitely helps to be skilled at the game. But to me, that stuff is a million times more interesting than just the generic like city block grid. So that's the type of stuff that I always encourage people to do.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm somewhat similar. I rarely do blueprints. Often when I do blueprints, it's just because I need the same thing in my current base, but I almost never use blueprints from one save to another.
Yeah,
And I tend to design things much more spaghetti and bootstrapping, like trying to move forward than like, oh, I'll just design this perfectly from the beginning. And then you regret your lack of planning later. And that's part of the fun.
yeah. I mean, and that's why you play mods. It's like, I actually initially started playing mods because I wanted to escape like just how predictable the base game was, and so like it forces you to rebuild things, and there's not a wealth of instant base blueprints out there, so you actually need to like design stuff for yourself, and it's new and interesting, and that's what interests me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, with these challenges, do you have some sort of like when you think about an idea, how do you decide, like, okay, this is the one I'm actually going to do? And then what does that sort of pipeline process look like of making the video? What's the overall process?
Making the video. Okay, so it generally starts with an idea, and I have a few ideas that for my patrons they can sometimes vote on it, but sometimes I just supersede the patrons and don't do a vote at all and just do what I want to do. But so I usually have a few options available for what they want to see, and so they voted in like sushi belts, they voted in like rampant 2, they voted in randomized and Ren-I transportation. Those were all done via votes. But it all starts with me having an idea, and it's kind of the thing like this is what they want to see right now, but all of these will probably get done eventually. So it's one of those things. But once I have the idea, it's generally just do I think this idea is interesting enough to make a video? And I can usually tell that just from thinking about it, because even before I start the challenge, I generally have an idea of what I'm going to do. And I think that's an important part of it. Like, I know kind of the structure just by thinking about it. But then, you play Factorio and you try to beat your own self imposed challenge. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when you're shooting the footage, do you shoot it all in kind of a big chunk and then edit the whole thing as one big process after you shoot it? Or are
Yeah.
you editing as you go and kind of like paying attention to, making the parts that are going to be shown and
Yeah.
such?
Okay. So what I do is I just play the game normally, and I don't really think about anything else. But I will keep notes in just a notepad and be like, "Oh, this interesting thing happened. This interesting thing happened to talk about this, and this." And then I'll just get a big list of those and just beat the entire run. So I beat the entire run before I even start thinking about making the video. And so for something like C Block, that looks like ending up with 120 hours of footage for one part. And then it's my enjoyable task to chop that up into pieces and make something watchable out of it. And so, what I generally do as my pipeline for making these videos it's pretty straightforward. I will take like one piece just in a row. I just start at the beginning, I skim through it, and with a combination of my own memory of playing the run, I will pick out the important bits and I will type up what I want to talk about in a script. I will get maybe like 1,500 words, which is about like 7 minutes of voiceover, and I will, voice all that out. And then once that's done, I will chop everything up and then start the process again and repeat until it's done. So that's the making of a Factorio video.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Do you record any voiceover as you're playing, or is all of it done in
It,
post?
it's all in post. I'm not sure
Okay.
if anyone believed I did it on the spot. Like I wish I was that eloquent and on point when I was playing, but I'm not.
Yeah, it's very very different. But I think you are able to, like, because you have a script, you're able to present a much more
Mhm.
concise and well spoken, argument for whatever it is you're saying, and that way you can have a shorter video, which I think is a net positive. How do you
Uh-huh.
decide what to show versus what to cut? Because, like you said, you've got 120 hours. So how do you pick?
Well, I mean, it's a difficult thing to say because there is no rule for it. It's just anything that my brain deems interesting enough to talk about. And there are some things that, like, to me, they're interesting, but I think about, like, but is this interesting to the viewer? And so that would be like certain quirks of a design that would be like, oh, I use this filter splitter in a funny way. And I do occasionally like point it out just because I want people to be aware that I'm thinking of this stuff while playing, but generally it's just stuff that I think is necessary to understand, the obligato stuff, if you will. Sorry, hit my desk, but the things that if I don't mention, people will be confused, and so that's generally just going through all the recipe paths and stuff. But I do think that that approach, kind of is rough on a longer mod like C Block. I think C Block suffered a lot from just, okay, then I do this, and 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 just on and on and on. And some people really like that video, but to me, it's just kind of like it's a video for the super fans, but it's less broad appeal.
Yeah, because there's a lot more repetition in something like
Mhm.
C Block compared
Yeah.
to, like your Dangerous challenge, where it's kind of like
Mhm.
the whole challenge can be fairly concise and you can summarize it all, and there's not actually that many recipes to go over and such.
Yeah, or like Ultra
Um,
Cube, where I can talk about like harvesting the souls of the damned for power.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and so it's interesting because it sounds like what you're saying is there's a little bit of the you kind of just do what you find fun and interesting
Mhm.
and then talk about it, and you trust that your intuition as a content creator is going to produce content that people want to see rather
Um,
than I just try to think about what the algorithm wants and do that, and I
that's
think I
yeah,
respect that a
that's
lot.
exactly it. I think people have a misconception that I started doing this stuff with the intention to like get popular or something. It's like me getting popular was like kind of out of left field. It's like to me, I saw like Martin Cedo Pants's first space exploration video, and I thought like, wow, that's a lot of people interested in Factorio. And that was sort of one of the things that made me think that there was an audience for this stuff. But I was thinking like, I wonder if I could do that, make it accessible, but for, the more Factorio oriented people and like some other people who are interested. And I was thinking maybe like peak ceiling would be like 100K tops. But here I am with like probably, what was it, like nearly 3 million on my first space exploration video. I'm like, what the hell? I don't even look at metrics anymore. I exist and my popularity is just kind of in the background for me.
Yeah, I feel like you are such a I don't know. I think it's your dry sense of humor, that really gets people is they love kind of this like is he bored of his own video vibe that
Yeah.
you put out,
Hmm.
and it sucks people in.
Uh,
Um so one other question I have about the challenges on videos. What have you regretted any of them after you've started where you're like, "Oh god, why am I doing this?"
regretted them. A little bit of dangerous. I wouldn't say regretted in Ultra Cube, but there was a part where I'm just like, oh god, when I'm just thinking about, when you just are looking at a big field of nothing and your brain is desperately trying to put together something that'll make sense out of it. And if you watch the Ultra Cube video, like there's a whole part where I'm just like struggling with like I design it like this, then I scale back on that, then I change plans, and that sort of thing. It gets kind of your overwhelming brain, but definitely dangerous was probably the closest one. I mean, uh, I think I saw your thing, and you wanted to ask this later, but I guess I can say it now. I will say that Dangerous is definitely my least favorite video of mine. I think I was way too negative. I don't think I went far enough. But you need to understand that when it came out, this is still when I had 0 views. So to me, this was very much like just a thing I was doing for fun. And so if I had like the views I have now, I would have felt, a bit more incentive to put a little bit more into it. But definitely, I kind of want to redo that one, just, get it with a modern perspective and like do it smarter and better and bigger. But, to me, that's my least favorite video I've done.
Interesting. That's interesting to hear. How do you find the motivation to keep going when you are dealing with one of those like my brain is melting, I'm kind of tired of doing this? How do you keep it going?
Well, I find the motivation by I sit down and then I force myself to play it for at least like an hour. Like there are some days where I can only get like an hour in, like tops, and then I'll just be like, okay, but that's an hour further to the end. So I'm not one of those people that gets super overwhelmed by seeing the massive scope. Just one step at a time. That's the key. Don't think about like, oh my god, it's gonna take like 40 hours to finish this. Just play the game.
Yeah, that I mean that's almost like echoing exactly what I say about people who are trying to get into Pyanodons as a mod pack. It's like, look,
Mhm.
don't try to get to red circuits. Just do something.
Pyanodons is a lifestyle. It's not a
Exactly.
game. It's
Yeah,
your lifestyle.
you do the next thing, and as long as you take one more step, you will be one step closer to the end. And so all you have to do when you log in is take a step. And I used to live near some mountains, and I really like hiking. And to be honest, a lot of hiking a mountain is just as much about mindset as it is about fitness. Like obviously you
Mhm.
need to have some amount of fitness to get to the top, but a lot of it is just
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
keep putting one foot in front of the other and you will get to the top of that mountain. And you kind of have to take it that one step at a time mentality. And I think that a lot of people get overwhelmed with Factorio because they look at where they want to be and they see all the steps that's in between where they are now and where they want to be. But really, if you just do the next step, that's very achievable. And then if you keep doing that, you'll end up where you want to be.
Yeah, and it's like I will say some people ask me, it's just like, "Oh man, how do you get so good at Factorio?" And I'm like, "I don't know, play the game." So, like, I will admit that, I'm probably just smarter than your average person. I hope that's not too supercilious of me, but I don't think that what I do is necessarily like that outlandish. That I think anyone can do the stuff I do if they just put in the time. And to me, the important thing is that I think what people see in my gameplay is just the end result of how I guess, handle myself and how I approach things. And the reason that I'm so like inventive and doing all this stuff is because I enjoy challenging myself. And so, I guess one example would be that you saw my beltless video. I was using those train wagon things, and like I knew about those, but it was only when I like sat down and did an entire run with them that I really like understood them. And then you see in my Factorio City and space exploration videos, I ended up making a mall using those because it was legitimately easier to use those as a giant chest than it was to set up a mall without robots in space exploration.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
that makes a lot of sense. So do you find, you were just talking about like some days you all you can get is an hour in.
Mhm.
Do you still play Factorio for fun then, or has it become kind of no, that's my work game? Like I don't do that for fun anymore.
So that is an interesting question because it depends what you define as fun. Because I don't play Factorio when it's not for quote unquote work anymore, but I still have fun playing it.
Right.
So,
So it is. So you don't have like a
mhm,
separate save that you're just doing on your own on
yeah.
your off time. You're
I
like when you
mean,
play
yeah.
Factorio, it's for
Mhm.
content.
I have like I played one or two things in like multiplayer, but that's mostly just me like hanging out. It's not like going super hard into it. So generally, it's like I enjoy it playing. I enjoy playing it, so I might as well enjoy it while making something that other people will be able to enjoy as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I feel sometimes I feel the same way. Like when I'm playing, it's like, oh, but I could be creating content out of this, and that's what like
Mhm.
people actually want to see, and it becomes hard. And I'm
Yeah.
very much a one track mind, and so it's hard. Like I can't do two different runs at the same time,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
so
definitely.
yeah, I got to focus on the one, and usually that's
Mhm.
the content one.
Yep.
Um, so which challenge, you kind of mentioned maybe the dangerous one was your least favorite. Which one has been your favorite or one of your favorites?
My favorite is a difficult choice between getting to the end of the world and the sushi one. I just loved the sushi one just looking at it, but I enjoyed getting to the end of the world. Getting to the end of the world is one that it's funny because I finished up the Rampant 2, which was a excuse me, it was a patron voted one, and after I finished that, I'm like, I just randomly got the idea. It's like I want to go to the end of the world, and so I just started doing that. I didn't tell anyone. So I was just like, I just started working on it like immediately after finishing the last video, and then I set the whole thing up. Had to beat the entire game, make like a 1,000 SPM base, which is not a small task. And I had to have biters on, like, usually I don't make bases that big if I'm gonna use biters, but I had to have them on for the challenge itself to be interesting. Because lots of people have gotten to the end of the world just walking there. It's like no challenge if you just, turn off trees, cliffs, biters, you just walk straight there. But,
Right.
if there's lakes and biters and cliffs and all that stuff, you need to make a very flexible design, and that's, what I ended up with.
Yeah, that one was really cool. I haven't seen all of your videos, but that one I think is probably my favorite of the videos I've seen because the design that you ended up with was so cool. Just this like
Mhm.
extendo train
Yeah.
artillery covers over everything.
I feel like people don't really realize, like, you hear like 1,000 kilometers. It's like, oh yeah, that's still a countable amount. That's only as big as France. And it's like, yeah, but it still took me like 300 hours of game time.
Yeah, it is not. It is a roughly infinite world in Factorio.
Mhm. Yep.
So now you've made a lot of Factorio videos. Or sorry, I had one more
Mhm.
question on the challenges. Which challenge of the ones you've done would you recommend other people do the most?
Which would I recommend? I assume overhauls aren't included in this one because they're kind of separate. Which would I recommend? I mean, it's difficult to say. Like, usually I play the challenges because no one else wants to, and it's interesting because it's something that people wouldn't ordinarily do. But I mean, I guess the cop out answer would be the rampant ones. I guess those are kind of challenges. It's just extreme difficulty. But I don't know. I guess for funsies, I could challenge everyone to make sushi.
Yeah, well, you know what's interesting about that is we've got potential liquid sushi coming up with the filters on
Yeah.
pumps that they're adding. And that leads me into one of my next questions, which is what are your thoughts about Factorio Space Age in general? I know you probably have a lot, but
In general, it's the only thing I've been excited for in like 20 years. So those are my thoughts on it.
so we can look forward to some Dosh content as soon as it comes out.
Yes. I'm definitely going to do some Dosh TM content on Factorio Space Age. Definitely the length. I have heard it's meant to be around maybe like 50 to 100 hours, rough range. So it definitely one of the advantages of normal Factorio is that I'm so intimate with it. I could beat it just normally in like under 4 hours easily, no sweat. But if it's a much longer thing, I think it would be. It's unlikely that you'll see the same volume of challenges from me using that, but we'll see. I mean, I'll need to see how it actually plays out. And like, hey, maybe there'll be room for some like really weird thing. I mean, who knows? I'm sure I'll play through it and have a million notes for like what challenges I could do next. So yeah,
I mean, we
it'll be
already know there's
exciting.
going to be a everything legendary challenge, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
everyone's got
Mhm.
that in the back of their mind.
I mean, we'll see. I make no
So
promises.
yeah, yeah. One other thing I've noticed on your channel is that they're not all Factorio videos, right? And
Mhm.
so some of them have been about roguelike games. You put out one about finding a cozy farming simulator game that I actually
Yeah.
watched the other day because I was like, oh, I'm interested in these games. So what
Mhm.
inspired those types of videos?
I mean, what inspired them? It's difficult to say that it's not exactly that I was inspired to like move away from Factorio. It was more that I want to talk about what I want to talk about, and it just so happens that I really like talking about Factorio, you know? So, and the first video I made that was off topic, I'm not sure if you've watched it, but it was about a very, very obscure Metroidvania called Marrow, and it was a horror-themed Metroidvania, and it was a game I played a long time ago, and I just still thought about it, even though by all accounts it was janky and weird and difficult and painful, and I just felt compelled to tell people about it. And it was also kind of at a point where I kind of realized that it's like I know I don't always want to talk about Factorio, and this was, I believe, didn't I release it right after Crastorio? I'll need to look.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, I released it right after Crastorio, and it was kind of the no, actually, it was after the Beltless video, right? Okay, and that was after Crastorio, but so I was kind of looking at the way things were going, and I was happy that I was getting popular, but I'm sort of like I don't only want to talk about Factorio. I don't want to pigeonhole myself into that. And so I figured, now's the time. I got to make something different to set the precedent because I have seen some people that they like went way too long in their career to branch out. Then, I don't know. I guess if I must name something that I was thinking of, it'd be someone like Star or Stir from TF2, where he like branched out into other things, and people were like, no, play more TF2, Ree. But
Right.
so I didn't want that sort of thing happening. And so I, decided to, make the plunge, spend a whole month making that video. And let me tell you, it performed terribly. It was awful. um, I could pull up the stats right now, but it was something like after the first week, it had like 3,000 views. Um, and this is coming off the heels of that. Like my Craftorio video at that point had like 100,000, 200,000, something like that. And so I was prepared for that, and I was fine with it. And because I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm not really doing this for money. I just want to talk about it. And so there were like one or two people who were like, "Oh, I can't believe you made this. You're supposed to only play Factorio." But I did that, and I, ripped that band-aid off early. And sure enough, even though that was completely different from what I usually did, that video now has like yeah, it has 600 views. I mean, I could take a screenshot of the viewership graph and send it to
600,000.
you. Yeah, I could send you the viewership graph. I'm not sure if you could like pull this up on stream, but that's roughly the views of that I had on that video, and you can just see how it was totally nothing, but then suddenly it gets picked up, and just like my other stuff, it finds an audience. And now I think I'm kind of comfortably between two things, I do Factorio and I do other stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, that's
I'm
awesome.
happy.
Yeah, and I can't pull it up super quick, but basically it was 242 days before it kind of got that spike. So
Mhm,
it was like 2/3 of a year old before people really picked it up and said, "Hey, I want to watch this," or the YouTube
mhm,
algorithm decided to serve it to, you know,
mhm,
a million people or however it is that works.
mhm.
But
So,
yeah,
I'm
so
happy.
one other thing, you have multiple videos on roguelikes. Is that your
Mhm.
favorite genre?
I mean, I wouldn't say favorite genre, but it's just something I play. I mean, they're fun games, they're very technical. Uh, if you are someone who enjoys, like, getting into something and, like, really learning something and learning how to conquer something, there is no comparison. There is nothing more, I guess, engaging to the brain than a good roguelike. And, that's, I've, given some of my thoughts, like, on the video, but genuinely, it's because the, like, I guess, barrier to entry, like, the graphics are minimal, the stuff is so simplistic. There's no physics or anything, and so the developer is free to add all sorts of niche, niche mechanics that can interact with other things in very complex ways, and doing that allows this great world to unravel, and you really use your brain, and you feel happy when you're using your brain, and I'm just one of those people that enjoys that. So I enjoy using my brain, and I enjoy difficulty, and those give both of them. So if you're one of those people, those are for you. I mean, just like one example, don't want to drag this on too much, but like there's a place where I wanted to kill some enemies, but they have a lot of armor, and there's an enemy that summons more enemies in Cogmind that will have this certain thing, and I knew if I just stood in that radius and got them to summon this specific enemy, I could kill that enemy, get their armor integrity analyzer, use that, then go to that place, kill that enemy that I was only possible because I got that one chip, and then take their treads and then become much stronger because of it. So it's that kind of like multi layers of thinking and strategizing that is interesting.
Yeah,
And then
and it requires you knowing that those things exist, and then you're
yeah.
putting together that solution on your own, which is very
And
rewarding.
especially if you enjoy learning, that's another part of it. So it's like it's using your knowledge, but it's also learning the knowledge. And if you enjoy both of those, then roguelikes are lovely.
Yeah, and I don't have a ton of experience with rogue likes in particular, but would you count Elden Ring type, Dark Souls type games in that category?
Uh, Not really, but I mean, if you say anything that has death is a roguelike, then I suppose you could, but difficulty, death, that sort of thing, needing to redo things. It's all things that I think it's less that it's a roguelike, and it's more that it's just a compelling game mechanic for difficulty. You try and try again
Right,
until you overcome the barrier, and then you're happy, and then
right.
you do it again.
Yep, yep.
Mhm.
Cool. So, what is, if you had to pick, and I know that this is also a difficult question, what would you say is your favorite game of all time? Could you pick one?
My favorite game of all time. That is a very difficult question
And you can pick
because
one of your favorites. It doesn't have to be the favorite, maybe.
I play lots of games, and the problem is that I'm not sure if you got the impression from my videos, but I play some games that are like by all accounts kind of awful, but I still love them. So it's stuff like that, and that's what makes this question extremely difficult for someone like me, because there's so many experiences that I can be like, oh, I enjoyed that, but uh, would I recommend it to anyone else? Probably not.
Sure.
And it's like I assume Factorio isn't an option here.
Yeah, that's
Can't.
kind of a boring answer.
Yeah. So I mean, if it was any other time, I would just say Factorio. But I mean, I guess to name some I liked Kingdom Come Deliverance. I like Deep Rock Galactic. I like Noita. I like Rain World. I like Pizza Tower. Just some random things off the top of my head. But I also like some things like maybe Return of the Oberdin, some more cerebral games, some puzzle games like the Zachtronic series. I love Opus Magnum.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, there's a lot of games to think
Yeah.
of and a lot
Yeah,
I'd
it's hard.
recommend, and but thinking of all-time favorite, I mean, definitely Cogmind is kind of a recent addition, but has become like a high up there. But just for me, it's
Yeah.
very not many people like it, but those who do love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are you playing these days for fun?
These days for fun, uh, I've unfortunately made the mistake of playing Mordhau again. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that. It's a sort of melee hack and slasher multiplayer thing. I
Okay.
have too many hours in that. I made the mistake of getting back into it and wasting more of my life, but I was a little bored, so you get back into it and like a bad drug. You're doing it and you don't really know why, but you're still kind of enjoying yourself just enough, so you just keep doing it. But
Yep.
I'm playing Barotrauma because I'm gonna make a video on it next.
Ooh, that sounds awesome. I've heard of that game. I haven't played it yet myself, but
Yeah,
it
I have
looks it
lots of
looks neat.
opinions, many good, many bad, and many cerebral and weird. So, look forward to it.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that. That's cool. With the games that are kind of you're like I shouldn't be playing this, but it's like crack. A while back, I was really into Dota 2, and that game
Oh
it
yeah,
was horrible for me, but I loved it.
that's the exact same thing. I don't know if you know, but I also played Dota 2, and I assume
Okay,
you know that my profile picture is Necrolite.
I actually didn't recognize that. Is that I
It's
guess I see it now. Yeah, it's a little.
yeah,
Oh, your other profile picture.
yes, not this one. This one, no one really knows where my Twitter and Discord profile picture is, and I will dispel the mystery. It's the random face from the cover art of a Philip K. Dick novel called The Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch. You've probably never heard of it, but I just
Nope.
like it.
Yeah, yeah. But yes, I did recognize the Necrolite picture
Yes, yes.
on your
The
YouTube character.
the person in chat is correct. It is the Chinese low violence death pulse because skulls are illegal in China.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm.
That's funny. Awesome. Well, so okay, we've talked a lot about Factorio. We've talked about these other videos. What other thoughts would you like to share with the listeners, if any?
Uh, go to bed on time.
That is a good lesson. You heard it here first, kids. Go to bed. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, well, we're going to wrap up here, but if you, as the listener, would like to support Dosh, you can do so on his Patreon. We will do a link to that in the show notes. You can also find Dosh on YouTube, obviously. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. Where else can people find you, Dosh, or is that mostly where you're at?
Uh, that's basically it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, go support Dosh. Look at his videos. They are incredible if you haven't seen them, and watch one that you haven't watched before, because at least so far, all of the ones that I've seen, they all have a new treasure. I feel like all of your videos are ever so slightly different. They have a different
No,
vibe, and I like that
I
you.
try to do something unique with all of them.
Yeah, I really like
Something that,
that.
yeah, yeah. So, trying to push that envelope. I think getting to the end of the world will be hard to top, but never say never.
I'm sure you'll find a way to do it. Awesome. Well, if you guys would like to support the podcast, you can head over to patreon.com/Krydax. I am so thankful to all of the patrons over there. You guys help put food on the table, and that is always appreciated. And next week, we'll be streaming the cast at the same time, which is 11 a.m. Eastern Time or 3 p.m. UTC. And you can check out the Crydania Discord for any updates on that time, which there will be links in the show description. Dosh, it has been such a pleasure having you on the show. I am honored that you took the time to be with us.
Yeah, I figured I should come out of my shell and actually talk to the fans for once, because I pretty much don't talk to anyone. I don't hang around the Factorio Discord. I don't hang around like anywhere where people talk about it. I just exist as a ghost, a phantom. And I
Well,
emerge once a month to release a video to great acclaim, then I disappear once more.
we are so thankful that you came out of your little hidey hole to hang out with us.
It's fun,
It's been great.
It's great to be asked about a topic that I'm an expert in, myself.
Yes, you are the most expert on Dosh. It's been nice to have a Dosh expert on the show. Awesome. Well, if you listeners have any questions, ideas for new topics, or guests that we could have on the show, head over to the Crydania Discord and recommend them there. And thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week. Always remember, the factory must grow.
All right, see you later.
All right, so I've stopped the recording, but we are still streaming. If we want to hang out with Twitch for a minute, you don't have to. It's up to you.
Well, I guess, I don't know, I can do something.
There were a lot of comments about Deep Rock Galactic. People liked when you mentioned that. Rock and Stone.
It's because they've programmed them that whenever you hear Deep Rock Galactic, you immediately think of Rock and Stone, so it becomes this Pavlovian response. So
it really is. Yeah.
But, yeah. Well, I think that went pretty well.
Yeah, that was awesome. You did a great job with that.
Yes, for someone who never talks to people, I'm pretty good at it.
You did great.
Thank you.
Yeah, someone was asking, there was one question someone asked that I wanted to come back to. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I kind of meant to ask this on the podcast. Are you planning on a Pyanodons run at some point?
Tentatively. It's a difficult thing because you see, like, my C block video, it became a very just like this, and Pyanodons is that times 10. So it's not something that I'm necessarily running away from. It's that I just know that it would be very difficult to make an entertaining video out of. And if you look at my like C block series, like first one 2 million views, second one like 1 million views, third one I don't know 700k or something, there's a steady decline.
Yep.
And if I look at something that would require like 4 times the amount of effort and time, and I'm looking at those numbers, pretty soon I'm looking at the very real possibility that to finish it, I would need to spend 100 hours to get like 100k views at most,
Right. Yeah, so, I feel like you would need to compress a lot more in terms of like play time to video time ratio.
And so I am tentatively thinking of making a server that I will get like a crack team of Factorio experts to try and beat Pyanodons and, consolidate the footage and think of like, oh yeah, this is like generally how it does. But the main point is that I think to tackle that, I would need to fundamentally change how I approach things, and that is just kind of an ordeal. And so it's not that I'm necessarily running away from it, it's just that if you look at it compared to anything else, I think people would probably prefer, I mean, like, it's a very loud voice, people want it, but if you think that 1,000 hours or like 10 like random challenges, it's like, would people rather see that or like 10 random funny Factorio challenges? And I think most people would prefer the latter. So it's a very difficult thing. So,
yeah, makes sense.
Well, it was
fun
talking to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for hanging out, and I will get that episode in MP3 form, and I'll send that over to you later today, and you can make sure the levels sound good, and then that'll go up on Spotify tomorrow morning, and I'll send you the link to that as well, and you can share that wherever.
Allow me to digitally shake your hand.
Digitally shaken. Thanks again for hanging out, Dosh.
No problem. It's nice to get out. All right.
Yep.
See you later.
Adios. Awesome. Oh, that was so great. Yeah, we need Dosh's face reveal. You guys on his Patreon Discord need to convince him to. It was hard enough to get him out of his hidey hole for this, apparently. So, getting him out of the face hiding hidey hole will be the next level of challenge. Oh, that was awesome. Oh, that was so fun. I loved hearing some of his thoughts on things. I feel like Dosh is a really unique player in the YouTube world. I think a lot of YouTubers feel very different than Dosh, and Dosh is almost like a breath of fresh air. So it's really fun. If you can get him to automate his webcam, then he might be tricked into doing it. There you go. If he has to, yeah, no, here you go. If he has to write some form of controlling the webcam with Factorio circuits, then he might have to take up the challenge. All right. Well, I am probably going to head out here, but all of you who are here from Dosh's channel, welcome to Crydania. If you guys would like to check out my Factorio content, it is very different than Dosh's. It is more of a long play format, but some people tend to like me, some people don't. It may or may not be for you, but you can head over to my YouTube channel. I've got a lot of videos, and I stream on Thursdays from noon to 4 Eastern time. Right now, I am playing through Pyanodons, which has been a blast, but it is slow going. I'm 100 hours in, and we haven't even hit red circuits yet. So we're a long way from that. But yeah, thanks for being here, everybody, and I will see you next week. If you're interested in more Factorio podcast stuff, you can come back here next week. We'll be hopefully interviewing somebody else, or if not, we'll just talk more about Factorio and automation gaming. I've got plenty more topics to hit up, and if you have ideas for topics or guests, then please let me know in the Discord channel, because I'm looking for new guests, and if you know anybody that is either a developer of mods or games in this category, please feel free to hit me up or hit them up and see if they want to be on the show, because any connections you guys have or could add, that'd be great. But yeah, I interviewed Rygard. He's a Wooba dev and mod dev, and so obviously I'd love to get people like Nilaus or Martincito Pants or Kovarex. We'll see if they ever want to be on. Oh yeah, I should ask Zoramuth. I also want to ask Anachrony, who's the dev for Nullius. He might be interested. So yeah, all the ideas, let me know on the Discord, and there's a channel specifically in the Crydania Discord for the show. It's called TFMG discussion, so you guys can mention that there, and then it will be in permanent writing. These Twitch chats are hard to keep track of. I have not had Michael Hendricks. No, I should try to get him though. Yeah, now that I've got Dosh, I can just be like, look, Dosh was on, so now you have to. If you want to keep up with Dosh, you gotta be on the show too. All right. Let's see. Who can I give a shout out to? Who's streaming right now? Nobody. I would normally think about doing a raid on Twitch somewhere, but I don't have anybody to raid. So I'll just oh yeah, it is a holiday weekend. I guess that's true for us US people. Oh, Michael Hendricks is streaming apparently. I guess I haven't followed him. I should do that. So you guys go check him out, and I will see you all next week or on Thursday if you want to come to the pie stream. Ooh, that's actually a good idea. I should do that. Let me find him. I have to search for him. Michael, how's it spelled? Michael Hendricks. Is it Mike Handy? Is that how it goes? There it is. All right, we're going in. All right, gotta watch an ad real quick. Good times, Twitch. Gotta love it.
Let's put like 2 robots nearby.